In the following video, we are joining Pat Cokingtin, the now Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Americare, as she addresses a group of senior housing executive directors in California. She's sharing with them Americare's experience with the DEI process and the results they achieved.
So about 3 years ago, in 2006, we decided, you know what, we need some additional manpower. Well, the other thing we did is we took on some selling skills training at that time. We knew that the discovery piece was weak, so we took on some discovery training with a company, and their philosophy was very good, really trained us in the art of discovery. Some of the training you're going to be getting through DEI, their form of discovery is called high efficiency selling. And that worked for a little bit. It was a little bit of a bump, but we couldn't sustain it. We really couldn't sustain it because we weren't managing to the skill we had just trained to, okay? And that's at the time when we started really feeling like, you know what, these operations directors who this regional salesperson reports to, they're all nurses, okay? Not sales managers. They don't really know how to manage this sales force. We were kind of getting a feeling about that. And now we're hearing the ops directors going, I need an evaluation tool. My sales rep isn't doing what they should be doing. I sat with the VP of the assisted living division and said, you know what, I think we need kind of sales management training, it sounds like. We don't know how to manage a sales force. I wonder how they do it in like manufacturing or other industries, you know? We just have to find out when in industries where a sales force is a big part of their company, how do they manage it? Because, okay, go find something. So we had this opportunity where we were bringing sales and operations together. And I thought, oh my God, I gotta figure out some training. I gotta do something here. That's what my role is in the company, isn't it? I'm supposed to fix everything, right? Well, I went to Barnes & Noble, and I'm like, this was like 2 weeks before the training, and I'm looking in the business section book, and this book jumped off the shelf of me, this #1 sales team. I mean, I know this sounds like such a Cinderella story, but this is honest to God how I found DEI. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly what we want to create here. So I started reading the book, and it's such a simple book. How many of you have started reading this? I mean, just so practical, very simple. And I came across that role discrepancy exercise. I said, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need to do with ops and sales and find out, is ops expecting too much? Is sales expecting too much? Where's the gap? So that's what we did at this meeting that we had going. Well, the gap was huge. The gap was huge. Operations, what did operations say they wanted from sales? Just fill the beds. I don't care how you do it, just fill the beds. Sales was over there defining their role in all sorts of areas that were non-selling areas. They saw themselves as activity directors almost. Oh, I like to direct the bus. Sometimes I'm at a building. I do family nights. I do all this non-selling. Well, no wonder we're not getting a bump in the census. We don't have these people dedicated to the function we've hired them for. So we come back from this meeting. Okay, we've got this wide gap. Now what do we do about it? I guess we need some sales management training. So, true to form, like I just kind of look at like, who wrote this? Stephen Schiffman in New York. Or I look on DEI. DEI is in New York. I called the DEI central offices in New York City. I said, we read the book, we did this exercise, and it looks like we need sales management training. Would that be something you could do for us? He's like, and here I come to find out, like he's trained like Xerox International or Deutsche Bank, these huge corporations, and I'm thinking, I had this vision that I was going to bring him into the Holiday Inn Express in Oak Park, Kansas, and it's like, very graciously handed me off to his assistant, and then yelled at his receptionist for letting me through, but he said, no, but I'm going to hand you on to somebody. We have a healthcare specialist who has an office in Omaha. Her name's Janine Aspen, and I want you to talk to her, because it sounds like you do need sales management training. So that's how I found Janine. And we brought Janine in, talked to her. Initially I said, here's what our situation is. We've got this huge gap. We know we have good talent out here. We've done some selling skills. We aren't managing it. We're not getting the results. I said, we're just about to blow it up. Actually, the president of the company was saying, we need all sales reporting to one big corporate guru. I'm thinking, that is not what we need. I know in my heart that wasn't what we needed. The VP of the Alpha Division knew that's not really going to do it. That creates a lot of silos. When you pull sales away from operations, it creates a lot of silos, especially in our business where we're so operations driven in terms of the product. So I said, we're about to just do away with the structure. She goes, don't do anything. She says, you're right at the point that sales management training can really make a difference. You're with. So we brought Janine in, and she trained our operations directors first. We didn't bring in sales first, which was always the approach on all of the other sales consultants we'd used over the years. It was always bring your salespeople together, we'll give them some great skills, we'll do closing techniques, we'll do discovery training, and you'll just be great to go. It wasn't working. We had done that a number of times. She came in and she says, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to start with your managers. We have to first show your managers what to expect from a sales force, or have them decide what they want to expect from a sales force. Then we train your sales to the skills to deliver what you're expecting. So we brought in operations, trained them. I'm telling you this because I want you to kind of get the chronology of where our census was, and I'm going to show you a graph and show you, once we rolled this out to the field, how just being consistent with managing a process, educating our managers what to expect from a sales force, creating this expectation that every week you're going to coach your sales force for better performance, the census started going up. Let me just show you a graph that this is where we started implementing the program. We were kind of flat around the 1,500 mark. Beginning of July, we started implementing the program, and we were doing weekly sales activity board calls. And you can see the steady increase we had. Up until this point, you can't see the graph back here. It's the first half of the year. We were, I think our high at one point was about 1,560 or so. We took a real dip. We started just steadily going up. You know, I really equate that with, we talk about weight loss, we have this conversation. You know, there's no magic to weight loss. It's just being very, very consistent. And you know when you're not consistent, you know the results you're going to get, right?
Yes.
So, yep. And you know when you are consistent, you know what the results are. It's a little inverse from this. You know, your weight goes down when you're consistent. But it's very much the same philosophy or the same principles involved here. It's just consistency. So that was in last year where we've been with this. I'm going to show you another graph just to show you how it's continued to go even through this year. But I like to look at this question here. In reality, this training comes down to the question of when. Because when you look at your sales rep, when census is down, and you look at her and you're going, what are you really asking? You're really asking, when can I expect our occupancy to go up? Because I've got decisions I need to make here. I've got staffing decisions, I've got variable cost purchases I need to make. It's all dependent on census. We're a census-driven business. When the operations director, Polly or Chris, calls you as the ED and says, what's up with census? What they're really asking is when? When can we tell this owner that we're actually flowing cash? When can we have enough stability in your cash needs that now we can fund some other purchases or acquisitions? Everything is driven off of when. And so what happens when you can't give your operations director an accurate answer to when? That's when you start getting really micromanaged. That's when they start saying, well, I think you need to have your sales folks making 25 sales calls every week. I think I'd like to see a number of dials that they've made to prospects. I think I'd like to see this, this, and this, because they don't know what else to ask. So they ask for a lot of data. If you start giving an accurate answer to when, and that's what this system helps us do, is helps us forecast with certainty, because we're all talking the same language, and your 90% is going to mean the same as Ginny's 90%, and Sandra's 50% is going to mean the same as Trisha's 50%. Now we've got an accurate answer to when in the company as a whole, and that makes life so much easier. So much easier from a reporting standpoint. And it's also interesting to see because, you know, we've got a lot of information that your sales folks have and you've got leads, their database. That's good information. They need it. They need to know where they are. They need to put in detailed notes if it helps them. Do you really need to see all that stuff? Do you need to see logs and logs of sales notes and get mired and all that? You don't have time for that. You know, sales management is one little part of your job. You've got a lot of other things, HR issues, patient care issues, regulatory compliance issues. You just need to see enough data to give you confidence in that question of when. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be extracting a little bit of data out of your You've Got Leads to give this report that's going to give everybody a very comfortable sense of an accurate answer to when. Okay? So that's a little background on the real world application of the DEI model. Let me just show you. So this was last year's performance, okay? I want to show you how we're doing in the last 10 weeks on the ALF side. See this? So you can see it's just this kind of steady progression. Yeah, we still have a few dips here and there. That wasn't a stellar week. You know what we do when we don't have it? First of all, we knew that was coming. That's huge. You can have a really ugly board, but as long as it's accurate, it's okay. And when you're able to tell your ops director that, you know what, we probably will anticipate a dip in census in the next 30 days based on my pipeline, they'd rather know that than have it happen after the fact. We usually are within 2 or 3 weeks very accurate on where we're going to be, within 2 or 3 in census, because we're having that accurate sales boards across the board. And this is for 100 properties, almost 80 properties on this side of the business. On that other graph, we netted 82 residents in same-store mature properties last year, from the time we started the program to when we got in. Same-store growth. That's with 1,375 discharges over the year. So our back door is turning and burning, because here's what happens too. When you get dependent on bluebird admissions, your average length of stay goes down, and so that back door just constant. That's a huge net to be able to net that much. That we had to just replace this to get another 82 on top of it. So again, we continue to just rise, and that's what you're wanting, isn't it? You want that steady increase. What is sometimes you're seeing right now? Kind of, okay, doing okay, then we dip. Do okay, then we dip. You do that at the end of the month, right? Because you got move-outs or whatever. It's because your pipeline isn't filled. In January of this year, we've decided to take this on our skilled nursing side. Skilled nursing is a whole different animal. How many of you have worked in skilled nursing? Okay. You think, oh, that's not really sales. That's kind of admissions, right? Admission processing. This program works just as well on the skilled side. And the skilled side, we had this victim mentality when it came to our census. Oh, it just happens. We have no control. We got Medicare. They're discharging early. We take what the hospitals will give us, and the assisted livings are taking higher acuity residents. They just let the census happen to them. By training their sales folks, their what we call outreach coordinators, to do really effective referral source calls, we started going around that healthcare system a bit and getting influencers other than the hospital social workers, other than doctors, to start referring residents to us. We're having the same result on our skilled side. Since April, we've had a net increase of, in the last 10 weeks, 46 admissions on the SNF side. That's with 560 admissions, we've netted another 46 residents.
In 10 weeks?
In 10 weeks. On our SNF side, in 20 buildings.
Wow.
That's huge. We were leaving a lot on the table, and we weren't exploring good referral sources for our SNF side. So the message here is that that's what attracted me to the DEI program, is that it's proven across industries. It's not just long-term care, it's not just manufacturing, it's not just banking. If you follow these principles, it's just good common sense, and your sales results will come. And the biggest part of that is the consistency that you as managers have with your sales folks.
By the end of year 2009, the results were impressive with a net of 93. 3 years later, the process demonstrated a sustained positive impact on census. 5 years later, still going strong. For the past 30 years, over 10,000 companies across virtually all industries have used the DEI sales system to consistently develop new business and predictably hit their sales targets. Since 2006, DEI Central has applied this same uniquely effective process to the senior living and senior care markets. And since then, DEI has been helping providers who, like Americare, are consistently targeting even greater census success.